Greetings everyone, my name is Rakamdar, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be showcasing one of my Path of Exile builds for everyone here. This is a build that I'm actually really proud of because it's something a little bit different, as you might notice from the titles and thumbnails. I am playing a level 91 Chronomancer, but we're going to be doing some monk things instead. And I wanted to share this with you because, first of all, this is a character that I kind of theory crafted and created kind of on my own. And it feels really good to have done so. In the past, when I've played PoE 1, that's not something I was really able to do. There was just kind of so much going on in that game that it was really tricky and very difficult for a newer player to kind of come up with things. Whereas this game, it feels, it's first of all, it's early access. There's not as much to do, so it's kind of a little more straightforward. I imagine it will get more complicated as time goes on, and it'll feel a little bit more kind of challenging for a newer player, but at least for now, it's been amazing. I've been playing this game nonstop with my friend, and even on my own. I have about 230, 250 hours. I don't have infinite time, but when I do have free time, I've been mostly playing this game. And this build is possible due to this guy over here, Doriani, and refund passives. In the campaign, it was for, it was the early one, or the hooded one. And this allows me to, freely experiment with, the passive tree in a way that I wasn't really able to do so with the PoE 1 experience, at least during my time. I know that it got better. I know that the currency exchange got added, so that could make it easier because the respecking points in PoE 1 was a currency similar to, Exalted Orbs. There was a respec currency. And then there was books throughout the campaign that gave you a couple of respect points. And that was about it. But I have been informed by my friend that they did kind of update this a lot. I believe they do have a money system as well too, where you can respec with money, similar to how we do it now. That is, that's what my friend told me. I don't know for sure. I haven't looked into it myself. But if all of that is true, then many props to PoE 1 because it was really unfun to want to experiment. I'm a big fan of the experimentation process in these games, in these types of games. And in card games, I'm a card game player as well. I love deck building, so it's a lot of fun for me. And I know Path of Building exists, but, I'm not necessarily a numbers guy. It's nice to come in here, look at it, take out a gem, be like, oh, that's a pretty good, boost in damage. But for me personally, I want to go in here, respec as much as I can. If I want to test out the, viability of this node tree down here and get rid of this, maybe the damage numbers do go down, but, I can come over here, go to the map device. I want to go play a map and test it out, get a feel for the gameplay. So that's kind of the idea of it. Path of Exile 2 has been my constant play, and because of all of these improvements and features, I created this character, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So join me for this kind of build showcase / build guide. This is my Chronomancer. We are going to be playing a monk variation of Chronomancer and entering a lot of shenanigans with the world. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the build. So I have a couple of notes here, pros and cons. So, this is obviously not going to be a perfect monk character. This is going to have a lot of issue or a lot of changes and issues compared to the traditional monk. So we have Zawardel. This is the kind of the key point for it, right? We have the time manipulation capability, as you can see here in our tree down, or our ability, time freeze. This is the key ability. Chronomancer is probably one of my favorite ascendancies because this is just cool AF. I loved this so much. It was super fun to play with. It has been super fun to play with throughout this entire process. And as I was leveling through the campaign, I kind of had this epiphany, right? I initially started this as a pure kind of sorcerer. I was doing fireball, ice wall shenanigans, trying to get the big damage with freezes combined with the time freeze and all of that. But I had this kind of epiphany of like, you know what, the monk kind of needs combo, right? So to use the Tempest Bell, you need to smack a weapon, an enemy 4 times, and then you can pop the bell down, do big damage, all of that such. And so I kind of had this idea where it's like, what if the person I was killing just couldn't move? Ultimately, it kind of the idea is there, but ultimately the monk is already pretty capable of doing that with ice strike and like freeze buildup. So it didn't end up playing out quite as perfectly as I intended, but it was kind of neat. It was awesome. And there are a lot of really powerful, you can see here, super stunlock potential. I'll showcase a couple of them here for you. We are going to have a lot of stunlock in this game, in this build. We can freeze enemies in place for a very long period of time, and I can actually go ahead and showcase that for you here. So we are playing, I have a little bit of a playthrough of, I recorded some footage. We are destroying some juiced content. I don't know do I press tab at all? That can make it easy. Anyway, so this is a pretty juiced up map. Let me see if I press tab real quick. Media player, please. Oh my goodness. Why you gotta be this way for me? All right, there we go. Okay, I pressed tab. So you can see over here, we do have, monsters are building up stuff more power. They're giving more stuff. I got the quantity, of course. They deal 59% extra damage. So we do have a juiced up map here going on. I believe this is not too sure why it's being so weird. Come on. All right. Windows Media Player, do your thing. Okay. This should be good. All right. So we jump into here. This is the boss for the map. Explodes nearby corpses. Not really relevant. Goes in Rebellious Rust Lord. So this is a decent showcase of, we're going to come up in here. We're going to pretty much immediately freeze him. We're going to time freeze. We're going to pop down a bell. We're going to pop down another bell. He's going to get time freeze goes off. Then he's still frozen. He's going to stay frozen, and he's not going to be, have a chance to move. Nothing this boss could have done. The theory was kind of there. And then I can showcase another one at 34, around 34. Let's see, can I? So we fight the Val boss here at the 34. I have the notes on my other screen. Yeah, so we 3426, go up a little bit further. We went too far. There you go. So we fight the Val boss here. One of the most dangerous bosses, to be honest. And so being able to kind of freeze him in place, stun lock them for a very long period of time such that they can't move. You can see here, it's even a mana siphon. We actually will talk about that too. So we freeze them, time freeze them. They get frozen, plop, bell, frozen. Now they're stunned from the stun buildup. And then we come over here, and then we manage to finish them off pretty decently. We're dealing, a couple million over this period of time. So very potent stun lock capabilities. This was the idea for the build. This was kind of the proof of concept, so to speak. And there's a lot of issues that I did run into when it comes to this kind of setup here, which we'll talk about as we continue going. So that's the idea, right? That's the idea for all of this super stun lock potential. And I do think that it's pretty viable off meta. And we even have some utility skills to help with survivability. One of the cool things about the time freeze is you can use it immediately, like as we're, going in and trying to do different things on the with the map. So like if we're running into a tough situation, we can see that I used it previously. Let me see if I can find that spot where I might have used it. So we can come in here. So here we used it. Yeah, I used it on, we have one of the coolest things for me is using it on the essences. If you see a lot of like really dangerous modifiers, I didn't pause fast enough. Oh my god, this mini player sucks. Why am I even using this? So we can see a lot of dangerous ones. Fire resistant haste aura, right? So this gives everyone in this area a lot of potency in terms of like just completely clobbering you. So instead, we're going to come in here. We're going to kill all of these enemies around because that's kind of, this area, this map is really dangerous. I don't like keeping these enemies around. They can be very deadly. And so I make sure to come in here and like clear this up. And then we're going to jump in here. And as soon as I pop this, we're going to freeze the entire room. And it's like, you know what? They might be hasted. They might have more movement speed, but it doesn't matter because we can freeze time. And so that's the core concept of it. And that's one of the, pros here with the utility skills can help with survivability. And that's a really useful one. We even have the rewind time capability. So we can go back in time and reset our ability. So this ability here, Temporal Rift, we leave after images, and when we cast the spell, we return to the oldest after image, resetting my life, mana, and energy shield to the values they had at the time. Really cool ability. I love this so much. One of the really cool things that you can do, Ice Strike has, gap closing capabilities if we have enemies nearby, and we can kind of jump in, and if you notice that you're getting a little overwhelmed, boom, jump back out. We're now over here, far away from the danger, and we can kind of kite it out a little bit and reset our HP and mana pool to whatever they were at the time. This can be a little dangerous because, or a little bit detrimental. So let's say I use a bunch of mana here, and then I, try to pop a potion, and then I go back in time, like my mana is still resets. And similarly, if you use potions to like heal, it will reset back to a detrimental value. So be careful with that. And it does have a cast time. You can see that there's a little bit of a cast time here. And similarly for my ultimate, I call it League of Legends brain, call it an ultimate. So similar to my Rift there, there is a cast time delay, so you do have to be somewhat careful when playing against some of the more attack or more speedy modifiers. So a dangerous one can be attack speed and cast speed for enemies, and the move speed one on your maps, because they can interrupt you in the process. And I have had that happen a few times where they interrupted the temporal rift or interrupted the time freeze, and I wasn't able to reset my position or freeze the enemies. So just be aware of that. That's one of the reasons I'm running Arcane Tempo on it, so that we can have more cast speed. It's not, it's not a huge amount, right? Cast time is 0.7 seconds, so it is fast, but sometimes that 0.7, you 0.6, the enemy hits you and you get wrecked. So just kind of be aware of that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and showcase. I did lose this fight. I went and fought Zhesht. I did a little bit of experimentation. I haven't messed around with alternative gem setups quite yet. I was trying to see if I can do like a cast on ability with the elemental invocation. Maybe I should do cast on crit instead. This is something that I've been haven't fully experimented like through with, and we'll talk about part of the reason why for that. But I wanted to try this out and see if I can use the eye ability, the spinny ice ability that throws out a bunch of shards, right? This gives us it makes the enemies crits. Eye of Winter, there you go. So this one gives the enemy critical weakness. So this is useful for a lot of the bossing. And I put this in my inventory because the idea is that we're going to run the breach, and as you can see here, like this is this character can do breach pretty easily. Similar to all of the other monk builds, we're running the double herald double herald power, and we're going to just wipe screens with the lightning and ice chains. The breach is no problem. We can do breach just fine. This is the Jest. I had a breach on the other one that I can show off here as well. But we go ahead and we make our way to Jest himself pretty freely. You know, we had plenty of time to spare. We didn't take much damage. And the idea here is that now we don't need Heralds anymore. So we take Herald of Thunder and I place some other gems. So I take the Herald of Thunder out and I put this in. I actually don't use it because I'm not used to it. So it just kind of doesn't do anything. And so I do that. And then there's, I put Glaciation off of Herald of Thunder onto my bell, my second bell, and I run 2 bells. So you can kind of see here, we're going to fight Zhesht. Big fight, don't do what I did and just kind of like autopilot. So we try to dodge the hand, we fail, the hand hits us, but we have enough energy shield overcharge from Grim Feast in order to like kind of tank that. And then we kind of get this set up here. I go ahead and I wait out this move, and then I go for the time freeze, and I'm trying to get the big setup, you know, double bells going in, damage going through the roof. You know, we freeze him right after he gets you know, kind of gets free from that, and then he does an attack. I don't manage to dodge it, but it's okay. And then we can recast our time freeze ability. And so I do that. Unfortunately, here's a big misplay. I need to be hitting my charge staff. I haven't hit my charge staff yet, and you'll notice here that my damage is a lot slower. The second cast of your time freeze does have reduced duration, but that's kind of the goal here, is to, you know, he's charging up one of his big moves, and I kind of just sit here and realize, you know, I just kind of, and then I don't, I get clobbered here. It's boom. That's a misplay on my part. Like this is all execution error on me. I think we could have killed him like pretty freely if I had activated charge staff the second time and then paid attention to this and like actually dodged it. So that's kind of the proof of concept, right? You saw during that period of time, we had him at like 75% and we did 50% of his HP, if not more, in a period of time where he could not move. And so that's kind of the goal for this build, is to sit down, have the enemy, you know, not able to move. And so that's kind of where we're at here. And I'll add like a final note here at the bottom, just to kind of, you know, do it right. Damage is greater than CC. So we're going to talk about the cons now. I do think it's fun. The world, though, right? Like, epic time freeze capabilities. It's thematically cool. I love the animation personally. Boom, like just the effect of it, the sound effect, everything really appeals to me. I love this particular ability. I love this class. So let's go ahead and talk actually about it. We're gonna talk about some of the things that I had to do in order to, you know, really kind of make things work. And so the big thing that we're going to talk first off is time freeze itself. So time freeze is an area of effect duration ability. Time freeze duration is 3 seconds. Affected enemies have time frozen, duration half for each time they've been frozen in the past 30 seconds. So if you keep chaining it together really fast, the, you know, 3 seconds turns into 1.5. So it does kind of have an issue in terms of like repeated, but I do have persistence on here, so the effect is longer. And that's kind of the idea, is to make this much longer. Unfortunately, we are pathing towards Monk, and so we don't have access to like some of these nodes up here that gives us more skill effect duration. I could probably consider that, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I'm level 91. I have more points available. I could probably go up there and make that happen. But unfortunately, the goal is to fix defenses. So we'll talk about that too. So we're going to come up here. Wait, where was I? What was I doing? Oh yeah, so yeah, persistence scale. Second wind, this gives us more charges for less cooldown recovery rate. So the idea is that during the maps we want to you know, press the ability, and then we still have this in the tank, and then as we're moving around the map, this is recharging and, you know, coming off cooldown, and then, you know, ideally we don't need to use this until the second one comes back off cooldown, but if we do, we have another, you know, another charge of this, and you know, in case we get into a tough situation. I think it's a very valuable skill gem to kind of throw on there. But one of the cool things when it comes to mapping, I'll see if I can find like a decent example of it. So let's do back to destroying juiced content. So you can kind of see one of the benefits of it. I don't think there's an example, but I'm not gonna spend time going through it. I essentially every time you go through the portal or do a loading screen, it basically resets this cooldown. So if you're in the middle of a map, all you need to do is, if you're finding yourself kind of struggling a little bit and you might need more charges of this, go ahead and press your ultimate ability, press the time freeze, do your thing, and then go ahead and just portal back to town or portal back to your, portal back to base wherever you are if you're in the campaign or whatever. Portal back to town, portal back to your base, and you'll get the cooldown back all the way back to 2. So that is something that you can do, right? We have 6 portals. Most of the time you don't need all 6 of them unless you're like picking everything up off the ground. And of course, all of these maps have 1 life, so you can't really, you're not going to die a bunch and, use the portals. So a really useful thing that you can do is, get the portal back. Also, recharge your flasks if those are low too. So that's something that you can do, and that's kind of the core of the idea of the build, right? We freeze time, and then we just wail on them, build up the amount of things that we need for Tempest Bell to work, and then we're good to go. For Ice Strike, I have Martial Tempo, Concentrated Effect. These are the 2 core ones, I would say, for this type of character. I have Heft, Primal Argument, and Ice Bites. If you're running into mana troubles, one of the things that I do have down here, Mana Sustain, plus melee skills on weapon can be a detriment. Check your support gems for mana multipliers, use rings, and use the passive tree if necessary. So you can see here, this ability here, Primal Armament, has 120% cost multiplier. So if you put a lot of those in here, it'll make your Ice Strike go through the roof in terms of mana cost. And one of the things that you can do, let me see if I have a weapon over here. I think I put it in my trade, actually. And so, yeah, this one has +6 to all melee skills. Initially, I was like, oh, that's amazing. I want that. But at the time, I didn't realize how detrimental that would be because when I was using it, my mana would go absolutely ridiculous. So right now, my mana is fine. I don't have any troubles, but that's because I no longer have a weapon with mana cost. We'll talk about what the ideal weapon will be in a little bit. So that's kind of the idea is like you don't want to necessarily prioritize plus to melee skills because that could make your mana cost go through the roof. If you are running, having trouble with that, you can of course go Inspiration, 40% less cost. Ice Bites doesn't, do anything unless you freeze them, so you kind of get rid of that and it'd be all right. And then Tempest Bell, I'm running Soul Thief for mana as well. Leech 5% of physical attack damage from supported skills as mana. This helps me quite a lot during bossing. And then I am running Leverage here. This is a 50% increased critical hit chance against immobilized enemies. I haven't really been able to figure out whether or not this is working properly or not when I use Time Freeze, because technically they're not able to move. So I assume, like, theoretically this should work, like on paper, but I haven't been able to kind of sit down and test it. I have been using it and keeping it around, but you could probably get rid of this for something a little more effective. And then I do have 2 copies of the bell. I haven't fully kind of figured out the ideas of this, but basically we're just using Rage on the second bell, and we're just popping down 2 bells. And then on the first bell, we also have the Overabundance, so we can pop down an extra one of this bell. So this will probably get nerfed, most definitely. I don't think they want this. This doesn't sound intentional to be able to equip multiple skills and put down multiple bells and just obliterate. So we'll see if that gets changed. And then we are running the Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder dual effect combo. So if you haven't seen this before, it's essentially Herald of Ice gets lightning on its supports, and Herald of Thunder gets ice on its supports. And basically they'll chain after the other. So Herald of Ice will proc, shock the enemies, kill the enemies. Herald of Thunder will proc, lightning the enemies, freeze the enemies. Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, continue on, so on and so forth. And that's how you get the cool epic chains that you saw in some of the Breach moments when I was showcasing that a little earlier. And if you do have there's a ring here we have, so the Pulsar Kelm. So if you have this Sapphire ring, enemies that are chilled by your hits can be shattered as though frozen. This is a very good ring as well. The main thing is this doesn't give us any necessary this doesn't give us a ton of big benefits. So I have here we have like extra cold damage and all that, and the big one here is 66% mana regeneration rate. I tried to prioritize mana regen or physical leech. I do prefer the 66% mana regen because, as you can see, like as I'm fighting, if I'm doing a map, like you're not really going to be completely wailing on the enemies. So like for a boss, the mana leech is better, I would say, the physical leech. But like as you're mapping, you're walking around, boom, boom, herald goes off, boom, boom, herald goes off, boom, boom, herald goes off, and you just kind of keep it going, and then you just flask whenever you need more. So I think the mana regen is very serviceable for what we're doing. And I also have ended up rolling mana leech on my, we're not rolling it, I actually bought this one, mana leech on my gear. So let's talk about the passive tree, things like that. What are we doing? What's the notes here say? You see that we have no ascendancy damage scaling. This means we need passive tree to be damage scaling, and we need more gear dependency, which can be expensive. And then of course, need spirit rolls. We do not have the ascendancy node from Invoker that makes our chest piece give us spirit. Normally on an Invoker monk, the evasion and energy shield here would give you free spirit, and you wouldn't have to need it. You wouldn't need it anywhere else. But we don't have that. So I have 53 spirit here, and I have 44 spirit here. And we need both of these in order to function with this version of the character, because we still want a lot of the powerful buffs that we are going to be running. Combat Frenzy, I have Cannibalism on here too. Actually, I can get rid of this. No idea why I still have that on here. I just forgot about it because we are running CI, Chaos Inoculation. Definitely get rid of Cannibalism, 15 extra spirit. Didn't even think about that, to be honest. But we are running Wind Dancer, Combat Frenzy, Grim Feast, and both Heralds, and that's a lot of spirit. That's a lot of spirit. And then we have Precision to help with accuracy. Wind Dancer has a couple of things here that we use to have some defensive layers if we do get hit. And then we have Energy Barrier. I have on here basically it will recharge. This probably doesn't work anymore because we are running the passive life, Eternal Youth, so that probably doesn't work either. So we can get rid of that pretty easily. Not really, like these two are the main ones. There's a couple of others you can consider, but it doesn't really matter. Definitely get rid of Cannibalism if you're not using Chaos Inoculation. You could probably find another support gem that helps you out, or you can, consider some other stuff. So I also have been considering like the Blink support gem. That is one of the things that I have kind of in here, just kind of waiting. Blink changes your dodge into a blink, as kind of makes sense, self-explanatory. But I haven't really figured that out yet. In terms of like figuring out how I want to like organize the passives. So, but Grim Feast is the big one, and Clarity is also a pretty big one. Grim Feast is going to be our major defenses. As you can see, we have 4,400 energy shield, and Grim Feast is going to be able to double that as we collect the shard drops on the ground. Are a huge defensive layer. So let's go ahead and talk about the passive tree, those defensive layers, etc., etc. So, as I mentioned in the cons, we don't have passive scaling in our Ascendancy. So let's talk about that. As you can see, our Ascendancy is very basic, right? It's utility focused. Time freeze, buffs on our buffs expire slower, so we can have more sustain on some of the buffs that we'll be running. And yeah, like Temporal Rift and Time Freeze are not damage. Over here, we have cooldown recovery reduction rate. I haven't finished my 4th Ascendancy because I haven't really needed it. We don't need 4. The only other thing that I would probably consider is 6% slow, and enemies are slowed in my presence. This would help us with, certain things. There is like some, time snap potentially, but I don't think that there's really anything really good there. The other option is the recoup life version. You can kind of come up here and get a lot of recoup life, and then we also have recoup life over here, and we do have a special helmet as well if you want to take this. Damage, 24% of damage taken bypasses energy shield. So there are some defensive layers in recoup that I think is viable if that's something that you want to do. But I wanted to do the energy shield. I like energy shield more. I think it's more valuable. For me, it's more valuable than the recoup life, and it's a little less dangerous. And then honestly, CI has been immaculate. This is an amazing node, by the way. Like, holy moly. Your life becomes one, you become immune to chaos damage. There's a ton of really, really annoying chaos damage effects in the game. The most notable one is the purple orbs that kind of follow you around. See if I can find any examples of it. But there's like these purple orbs that will follow you around. Any enemy that dies and leaves a pool of poison, all of these different chaos effects that are just absolutely not good to keep around. I just can't I just can't. It's too much. And one of the things that I don't think I mentioned real quick about the time freeze is it doesn't stop the passive effects ongoing. So it'll freeze the enemy, but it won't freeze if they have, the walking lightning soldiers, or, if they have fireballs that chase you around. Those will not stop, unfortunately. So, you still have to be very careful. I believe on this map here, there was a boss fight that I had to do, and so this is one of the first crit chance testings that I did. And yeah, is there still, did I do the boss already? Yeah, here's the boss. So as you can see here, I'm stunning the boss, but the AoE lightning that is going around, like, I can't avoid that, or I can't stop that. At some point, I think I just say screw it and just tank it, using my flasks. But at this point, it's just like, it's a little downside, but it is there. And so there's a lot of really, really annoying effects that the game kind of throws at you that you can't stop with that. So be careful when you're doing it, just to keep that in mind. But Chaos Inoculation, like I said, the immunity to chaos damage is insane, and so I tend to prefer that over the life recoup kind of direction. It's just an insane node. Like, let's be honest. Like, everyone's running it. You can pretty much find it. Chaos immunity gives you, the purple orbs that come from the trees. Those are pure chaos damage. You can just sit there, wail on the enemy, and you don't care. So definitely consider that. And then we are running the Eternal Youth, where our life recharges instead of energy shield, and life recovery from flask applies to our energy shield. This essentially just removes many of the downsides that energy shield has, where you have to wait around for 4 seconds to have it recharge. Nope, we can just pop our flask. So definitely, that is what we're doing. And so the main con that I mentioned here is, we don't have any offense here, so we need offense here. And this was something that I went around back and forth on. I was debating, do I want to do crit? Do I want to not do crit? Like, what do I want to do? And so initially I was, going for just pure attack damage, going for, some of these nodes down here. But ultimately, for this particular version of the build, you kind of need to go crit, in my opinion. I played around with both, and crit ultimately won out. And one of the downsides to forcing yourself to go crit is your defenses do have to go lower, because we have to go out here and spread our points out a lot more into crit chance and crit damage. And so in order to accomplish damage scaling our character, we have to forfeit some defense. So the goal here with my character, as I finalize it, as I level up more, I would probably go over here and get these nodes, and then I would start getting into these nodes, and that would kind of round out my defense, and then I would finish by probably going back into acrobatics. I initially had acrobatics pretty scaled into, but unfortunately I wasn't able to really sustain it after I switched all of my, took a lot of my defenses off and put it into crits. I believe I can probably sustain it if I really wanted to, because most people, I think the recommendation is once you have 10k evasion, you can go into acrobatics. But I haven't really spec'd into it yet. Maybe, as I level up, if I get one more point, I'll put it into acro. But for the most part, we do have to go into the crits. And so that's how we're getting the bigger numbers here. I have the crits going up into 71k. and we are choosing to path all the way around. We are going to get these energy shield nodes along the way. Our start of the tree is pure energy shield all the way up. Just get the energy shield and that's it. We do not need anything else. And then we get the energy shield along this way, and then the 8% or 6% increased intelligence is pretty good too because we're running the gloves, the Hoa. Let's see, yeah. So these, this is actually a really crappy roll, but it was the only one that I could find that would get sold to me. So the build is probably 8 div right now, 8 divine. This was a pure divine orb. This one I rolled on my own, so this is actually, I do like a mixture combination of rolling my own stats. This is a pretty, honestly, is a pretty nutty helmet in my opinion. 399 energy shield. The 21 life is a bad roll, but you know, one roll out of the rest, you know, I got crit chance, got some resistances. So this is my, I corrupted it into two slots. So pretty solid roll here. But this was one I bought. This one I bought for about 100 exalts. This one I bought for 2 div. I think this, you know, this version of the character, it does have, I mentioned it in the notes as well, if you wanted me to pull these up, still does monk things. So try out various other monk guides. That's what I did to this, is I actually, I really experimented. I watched other monk guides. I watched other monk playthroughs. You know, I used that. I combined them all into one and figured out what I wanted. So, you know, that's kind of what we were doing. So do watch the other monk guides. If you don't have these, there are some decent, you know, things you can do on your thing. So like this one, you can boost up some defenses, but you can also, you know, roll into some offense, right? See if you can get a, you know, adding damage to attacks, adding crit damage and crit chance and all of that such. It's not the end of the world if you don't have Hoa, but Hoa I think is certainly best in slot, and it probably will be necessary on this particular version because, like I said, we do not have scaling in our offensive tree or on our Ascendancy tree, so we do need more items. We are more item reliant, and we do need more of the crit going on and damage over here. So yeah, Path immediately went over here, and I chose to go down into all of these nodes because these are pretty cracked. Since we're doing crit, Crashing Wave is really good, and we get some crit chance. This one's really good, attack and cast speed. And then we do want the defensive nodes here, and then we do want the movement speed and mana regeneration a little bit, plus the intelligence and dex is good. And then 5% extra damage as free cold damage is really solid. You can even see if I go over here and like refund this passive node specifically, my damage will go from 71k all the way, like, you know, 4k damage in one node. That's pretty solid. So I do like that node in particular, so I chose to go there. Then we're gonna come up here, we're gonna get these nodes here. We're always at 1 life, so we have a permanent 30% increase in damage, and then we're gonna get the attack speed. Come up here and collect all of these nodes here for the extra crit damage. And then I do have a time lost emerald here with 2% increased evasion rating, 2% increased damage with quarterstaffs, and notables give passive attack speed. So that's kind of boosting up a lot of these nodes as well. Another benefit of picking the crit version is by getting more notables in this like circle. And then we have the attack speed stuff up here, cluster. We're going up here to get energy shield per 12 evasion rating. Going up here, and then we collect these 2 nodes, more cold damage, more freeze buildup, 50% increased damage with hits against frozen enemies, really powerful. Once we freeze them, we just kind of go real hard on everything. Hits ignore non-negative elemental resistance on frozen enemies. This is a really powerful tool in our bossing. Once they're frozen, we don't care if they have any elemental resistance at all. And this will just kind of help boost up our damage, especially since we don't have the Ascendancy nodes that kind of help with this regard. And then we just come out here to finish out the jewel socket and get CI. Come over this direction. We're going to take all of the freeze build up and this one up here to give us 30% increased defenses. And then we're going to take the attack speed and crits and go down here for the 25 dex and crit damage bonus and the accuracy. We're going to take the Herald clusters for more damage while we're using our Heralds, because that's what we're doing. And then we're going to jump down and get the crit stuff in this tree here. Really powerful. We also get intelligence and strength. Down here for more evasion from our equipped body armor. Get all the dexterity nodes and get the Falcon technique for more damage or attack speed. And then we take a couple of more points here to get the ruby, and we want 1 ruby with melee on hits, or rage on melee hits. That's very, very valuable. A lot of rage gives us more will give us more damage, 30% if you're maxed rage, and that's one of the reasons that we also have rage stuff on our second bell. That was kind of the idea, is like one bell and then two bells, and then we just kind of blast through the enemies. So that's the passive tree. Like I said, I was initially going to this one, and then I even went down to here to get some more evasion from our maximum for our equipped helmet, which is really powerful on our current helmet because it's about 400, so we get 800 evasion just straight up. And then there's the 12%, 12%. So I've experimented a little bit. I even came down here. It was really nice having all of the defenses, but the offense just wasn't quite there. So I did rework the tree to kind of try and supplement a lot of that. If you are struggling with defense, I would, maybe consider dropping the attack speeds here. Get a couple more points into evasion, energy shield, something like that. In terms of the defenses, unfortunately, most of it's active. You got to be using your abilities here quite often. Make sure you're using Temporal Rift. Use your time freeze. Don't be stingy with the ability to freeze time. It's our core mechanic. Use it often. It's going to be pretty useful. In terms of the Ascendancy tree, obviously, I don't really. The goal is to freeze time, so we went to the ultimate command, and then anything else, like this is you only need 2, right? The rest of the ascendancy points don't really give us all too much. Every 12% gain 50% more cast speed for 4 seconds. We don't cast anything, and so the cast speed nodes are not really useful here. And then the recoup, like I said, you could potentially choose recoup as your defensive layer. I chose not to. Because I think CI is just absolutely cracked. The moment that I switched to CI, I just felt so much more, it just felt so much better. And then I also have Eternal Youth. Makes the downside of the recharge really not there. It's not. It's really powerful. I think this two combo is like insane. And ever since I did so, I never looked back. It was amazing. I don't have to worry about chaos damage, and my health pool is already decent enough. 44k is, I think, pretty solid. And if I take off, I don't think I only get 1300 more is okay. That obviously is a nice layer of defense, but chaos damage does double damage to your energy shield and things of that nature. So I like the immunity to chaos damage. I think that's way more valuable. And then it also means you don't have to worry about your chaos res. A lot of the gear that we'll have, we don't have chaos res on all of our gear because we won't need it anymore. And I think that's also a pretty valuable thing to do, because you can try to roll some more, get more intelligence, get more stats, because the Hoa is going to give us more damage for our stats. One of the best things about this, every 10 intelligence and every 25 dexterity, we are getting more. So this 200 dexterity is now all of a sudden, that's what, 10 20 times 8, so 160 adds 1 to 160 more damage. And you can even see in our damage values here, if we take off Hoa, we are going to drop from 71k down to 52k. So it is a pretty substantial boost to our character. So I would highly recommend. It's when I bought it, it was 2 div. So if you have some div lying around, try to go get these. They're pretty valuable. If not, I think this character's breaching is one of the best. The double herald tech makes breaches pretty valuable. And so you can even see, I go over here and check my Atlas tree. I do have the ones up here, and I have the increased quantity from breach. That way I can try to farm it a bit more. As you saw, I did die to my level 1 extra difficulty to Zhest. I almost had him killed until I basically just didn't even try to do the fight. I could have had it up here. I think these 4 are going to be pretty key, and then you can just run a bunch of breach and make a lot of stuff that way. But if you're in the trade league, these are pretty, get those for 2 div. It's a very valuable upgrade. Don't try to, super roll your weapon. Eventually you want to, of course, but get some elemental increased damage with attacks, and use the Hoa. I think it's been, after picking this up, it's been a pretty strong improvement. In terms of the node that we are going to anoint, I chose to anoint Storm Charged, which is all the way over here. 40% increased elemental damage if you dealt a crit recently, and 20% increased critical hit chance. I think this is a very nice node to have. It's very, very strong, especially since we're prioritizing crits. And then similar to Crashing Wave, so we're going to be doing 36% plus the 40%. I don't know if it's multiplicative or additive, but either way, that's a big boost in damage once we start critting. And you can tell, like, once we start critting, the damage values just kind of go and go and go. So it's a really fun build. I really like it. Like I said, fun, viable. I think it's viable off meta. It is going to be somewhat more expensive than just playing the pure Invoker Monk because, like I said, you're going to need the spirits. You're going to need the spirit on your chest piece. You're going to need the spirit on your amulets. And those make these a little bit more expensive. It also means you won't be able to roll some of the more defensive layers on here. So, having the spirit, I believe, is a prefix, if I'm not mistaken. And so the prefix on that is, taking up a slot for, maybe more energy shield, maybe something like that. And then over here, this is also taking up a prefix slot for maybe increased energy shield, more evasion, maybe some more stats, get more intelligence or something. So it is a somewhat downside that we have to deal with, but I think it's okay. It is still viable in my opinion. Very, very strong character. And we'll talk a little bit. So the weapon prefix that we're going to try and look out for is the physical damage, elemental damage, flat physical, flat cold, or if you can't get cold, fire and lightning are okay. Crit chance damage, attack speed, and then plus to melee skills is my opinion. At least if you the melee skill one is better if you have mana sustain solved. So for this character, I would probably consider a higher, getting the plus to melee skills because I do think that my mana is a little better, and I can always just get rid of Ice Bite for the inspiration in order to help deal with that mana cost. And if you do have the mana cost problems, I think it's fine to like spec into the tree. 25% mana rate here. I was using this one here for a little bit to increase the amount of mana leech and recover mana on kill. This was pretty useful when it came to mapping. And of course, there's some other nodes here that are pretty good, reduce mana cost of skills and increase mana regeneration. So there's some options here, but again, it does take up points that we would like to have for our damage or for our defensive layers. I'm a big fan of the defensive layers. I don't like dying. Dying sucks, so I like picking up defense. If I could, I would have more points I'm honestly, I would honestly consider taking away like maybe the attack speed points here and putting them, like up here or something and getting more getting more defensive layers because I just really hate dying. And let's test it out. Let's do a quick test real quick while we're here. So G, remove those. 71k goes down to 69k. Not a big deal. You know what? I think I'm okay with that. Let's grab these, and the next level we'll go ahead and pick up this node. That will give us even more. I think I like that. Let's do that. Dying sucks, and 2k damage per second is probably not all that much. So you know what? I'm okay with that. And then one more point here at level 92, and then level 93, 94, and then the rest of my points go here, and then acrobatics if I can sustain it later. Is probably what I would do as I finalize the build. I can't really think of any other variations. Like I said, I experimented quite a lot with all kinds of different options. I experimented a bit going up into the elemental damage and then prioritizing over here and over here. But this is kind of where I ended up at the end of the day. And I think this is probably a necessity to sustain your damage scaling without having scaling in your Ascendancy tree. So yeah, that's probably everything that I want to talk about. Still does monk things, like I said, so do that. And then of course, ultimately at the end of the day, damage is better than crowd control. Why does it matter if you can crowd control the boss for 5 seconds if you can just kill the boss in 2? And so that's kind of the downside of playing a Chronomancer style build is, the Ascendancy tree doesn't give you the damage scaling. And so, if I was playing a pure monk with this kind of layout, I imagine this would be, a lot more damage. We get rid of these nodes here, and we can go down to here and get these. This would be the skill speed and the attack damage. And we would be set for life pretty much. We would just be in such a good spot. I'm actually building up another invoker, to be honest, another monk playing as the pure invoker this time, and it's been pretty good. The unbound avatar itself is just immaculate amounts of damage, and so um, it is one of the downsides, where we can do some cool things. We can freeze time. Freezing time is so awesome. I love this. This Ascendancy is still probably my favorite. I love the idea of this time freeze capability, the Ascendancy, all of that such. I definitely love it. It's so cool and it's so much fun to play with, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for pinnacle bossing, I think this build can do it. I do think you can fight Arbiter. I do think you can fight all this other stuff. It's not the end of the world, and it is something that is possible with this character. But you are going to need a little bit more than some of the a pure monk might need. Better weapon, better ring slots, better belts. I kind of want the belt that gives your rings better, stronger. So that would be pretty nice. I do think you can scale this up. You can see I already have 69k with this character, and that's not even with best in slot gear. Like my rings are kind of mid, my amulet's somewhat okay. Obviously the gloves are best in slot, but even the gloves, right? The 1 to 8 lightning damage is a poor corruption roll. Normally it's 1 to 10 normal. Like that's just how it is, and the corruption has the possibility of going down. So if I go fight Zhesht and I just get the Hoa, then that's already a flat damage increase just by equipping the non-corrupted version. And so, best in slots. My boots could probably be a little better. I tried to get more energy shield. I like the energy shield on everything, and I like the hybrid. I just like the energy shield layers. I think it's a lot more effective. And then for my weapon, of course, I would want some crit damage added to this. I want the 52 to 85 cold damage would be much more preferable as physical damage. And then I want the dexterity to attack speed. Like there's a lot of stuff on here. The stun duration is not very super useful as well. So a lot of things that we could roll on here. I think there's a lot of things that this build can improve upon. And you can see we're doing 69k damage. We don't even have a max out Ice Strike. We're not at level 20. Ice Bite would add a little bit more to this if we froze the enemy, and all of that. So I think this build can do it. I do really like this build. It's a lot of fun to play. Maybe I will do an update for this character. When it comes to leveling the character, I don't have a ton of information for you because I did level this character from a sorcerer. I actually, I experimented quite a lot. I was doing all of the cold stuff up here with the freeze build up and the cold skills. I initially went all the way up here, went all the way around, and then came down and went over here. So I was experimenting a lot with the monk version. But initially I was doing Fireball Ice Wall, so I can't really speculate too much. The moment I did the swap to Monk, I struggled a lot and died a lot. It took me a long time to finally stabilize the character to actually be effective. And then from there, it was actually, eventually I made it to this point where I was like, you know what, this is a pretty viable character. The most important thing if you're playing is the weapon. The weapon is very, 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 very crucial to your play. You can even see here, if I take this Expert Slicing Staff, and I switch it out with what I have, my 69k goes to nothing because apparently I need something. Oh, I have Dex. Oh. Whoopsie. I did not know about that. Well, I guess I'll have to fix that sometime. But yeah, you essentially, I guess I have 29 decks on there that let's do Doriani, refund passive. Where's an intelligence node? Go to dexterity. Boom. There you go. Ice Strike goes from 69k all the way down to 17k. So your weapon is crucial, very, very crucial to your play. So make sure you're paying attention to that. When it comes to making a character, that's one of the reasons I have all of these. I suggest especially if you're playing solo self-found, picking up all of the bases and crafting a little bit. You can even come over here, currency, boom, boom, reduced attribute requirements, 21 accuracy rating. That thing sucks. Get rid of it. You're gonna have to do that a lot. I equate it to opening card packs in a card game. Obviously, everyone's been opening card packs, and if you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic, buying single cards from a card shop is more effective, and that's true here in a trade league. Buying the weapons is usually more effective, but you don't get any downsides to actually crafting, right? Like, use up the orbs that you have here. I have 336 and 650. Might as well use them. Go ahead, find a weapon. You know, the slicing quarterstaff is really good. It has a high damage value. I like slicing. I like the long quarterstaff and the gothic quarterstaff. Gothic is pretty good because it has a higher critical hit chance innate. So if you're doing the crit version, which if you're playing this build in my guide, then you probably should be. So that's probably better. But of course, it doesn't really matter as long as you get the good rolls. I have 336 of those. Boom. 20 to dexterity. That's actually not terrible. Boom. Accuracy rating, though, that's terrible. Don't try to go any further and just sell it. So that's kind of the crafting. There's plenty of crafting guides on YouTube. I highly recommend, looking through some of them. But that's kind of the idea. So this is the build. I'm going to stop rambling off here. This is the skill tree. I'll let you, I'll kind of zoom through a little slowly if you want to pause and do exactly what I'm doing. If you have any comments or suggestions for like maybe some alternative versions of the character, I definitely I definitely welcome those in the comments and whatnot. Like I said, I've only played PoE 1 for, I'm not like someone who's played Path of Exile 1 for like 10,000 hours. I've only played it for about 150 to 200, and I only have like 250 in this one, so I'm not some kind of expert. But I was really proud of this character. I wanted to share it because this character is super cool, super fun. It's different. It feels like it's my own because I did it myself. I didn't look up a guide. There was only one other person I saw on YouTube who had a video talking about Monk as a Chronomancer as opposed to an Invoker. And I didn't really mesh too well with a lot of the things that he was actually doing. And I looked up other Monk things instead. I found there was a guy on YouTube who's a hardcore solo self-found monk. I looked at a lot of his stuff, and I really liked a lot of the things that he was doing. And so I tried to copy some of his, but I wasn't really finding myself able to scale the damage too well. So I switched over to the crit version while still kind of, emulating some of the stuff that he was doing. And this is ultimately what I came out with. And I think I do like it. I like it quite a lot. So I'm really proud of it. It makes me feel really good. Other options for Amulet Anoint real quick. So there's a Storm Charged. If you don't come down here for Crushing Wave and you're still doing crits, then you can come down here for Crashing Wave. And then I think there's even a couple of ones over here that's like two-handed. Is it this one? No, 20% increased damage with Overwhelm. Here we go. 5% reduced attack speed, but you get 40% increased damage with two-handed weapons. I had that for a little bit. I think it's pretty okay. And then there's some lightning ones that you can also do. Lucky is the noticeable one, right? Lightning damage with non-critical hits is lucky. Basically, it's D&D advantage. So you roll the damage value twice and use the better result. Advantage if you play D&D, so you roll the dice D20 twice and then you take the better result. So that's pretty much what I've built up here. And I'm really proud of it, like I said several times. But at the end of the day, it's still a inferior version. If you're looking for the best, meta strength character from Monk, then of course you're going to want to go Invoker. Invoker is still better than what I'm doing here. But like I said, I think it's viable. I think it could do it. My fight with Zhest was kind of proof of concept for me. Kind of proof that I can do it. If I just get the gear I need and kind of make progress on that, I can fight the pinnacle bosses with this character. The character was doing fine in, the maps. Most of the tier 15 maps that I run are pretty free. I don't really have any issues with those. You can see that the breach was kind of not a big struggle either. I'll go ahead and pull up one of the, destroying some juiced content. 1238 is the breach. I'll show that real quick. Just to kind of, showcase that the character can do it. So, like here's the breach. Go back a little bit, boom, kill some things. This is a tier 15 map. I'm pretty sure. So, this is a tier 15 map. I don't remember what the augments were, but like The breach monsters come in, they die, come in, they die. There's really no issues here. So the character is very, very capable of doing most of the content in the game. Here, I don't realize that there's a wall there, and I tried to roll through it. And then you come up here, like boom, like look at all that guy. Like that guy just died. He didn't even have to stand a chance. Come up here, everything's dying. It still has a lot of those strengths from the pure monk. It's not quite as effective if you were the pure monk or an invoker monk, I should say. But it has those, right? It's still a monk-based playstyle. It still has the herald combos. It still has the awesome damage scaling, the lightning charge staff. It still has all of those. Look at that. A rare was just obliterated. Pretty sure that was a rare. Just a rare enemy right there, completely obliterated. Didn't even stand a chance. Boom, that's also a rare. Yeah, you can see the aura, right? Look, boom, he's just dead. Doesn't stand a chance. So the build has that power, has the potential. Boom, all of those things are dead. Doesn't stand a chance. All those magic items, all those magic enemies, they're dead. Doesn't stand a chance. So see there, I pick up the tier or the headpiece just to kind of, maybe it's going to turn into something that's better than what I have. You just got to pick them all up. You can't just let them sit there. Boom, look at all that. Those guys are dead. Those guys are dead. Boom, boom. Throw the bell down. I didn't even throw the bell down. I just smacked him a bunch, and he's dead. So the character is strong. Character is viable. Like I said, you're probably going to need a little bit more gear. So a div here, 2 divs here, maybe a little more depending on how the pricings went. Most of the rings were about 30 to 40 exalts each. This was 100 exalts. This one I crafted on my own. This one I bought for another like 20, 40 exalts. And this one I crafted on my own. This one was another like 30, 40 exalts. So Storm Charge I put on myself. It came with something else. So pretty strong character, like maybe like 8 to 10 div to get what my setup here. In terms of early mapping, I don't really have a ton. I was getting clobbered and I just kind of struggled the whole way through. So but basically like just kind of get the damage going, make sure of course make sure resistances are capped, and if you're struggling to survive, actually don't invest in some of the defense. Don't go pure offense and be glass cannon unless you feel like you can play around a lot of the nonsense that the maps are thrown at you. Make sure you're investing in some defensive nodes and defensive flares. So damn, that's a long video. Holy crap. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you stuck around this long and enjoyed the watched the whole thing, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. I do plan on playing this game for a long time. I'm enjoying this a lot more than I was with the previous game. I love the map, by the way. I think it's a really cool thing. I don't think it's perfect by any means, and I think there's a lot of issues with it that I would like to see improved upon. But I love this kind of Super Mario World nonsense going on, and I personally really, 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 really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of things I would do with it, and I would like to see them do with it. I think it would be really cool to have like more biomes, and maybe there's like this mountain biome over here could do like specific things. Pathing towards citadels is kind of neat, but you would want to I think they could do more things similar to citadels, where you path to an objective and do some cool things in that objective. League mechanics, I think it would be a little nicer if they were not as random, but there's a lot of things. They're obviously going to work on it because that's what they do. They've been pretty notoriously good about trying to work on some of that stuff. So I like it. It's a lot of fun. I intend to stick with it. I can't wait to see what else they tend to, they release, and all of that nature. I will update this video in the future if I decide to continue progressing with the Chrono version of the monk. Like I said, I am leveling a invoker, and I haven't quite decided if I want to prioritize the invoker or if I'm going to continue leveling with this version. But if I do, I will certainly release an update video in the future talking about how I did the pinnacle bossing and all of that nature. Like I said, I was experimenting a bit in that video. I tried to do some of the cast on things. You can see, I can pull it up here real quick. I tried to pull, it's the elemental invocation, and then I wanted to do Eye of Winter stuff with it, and I did Scattershot Impetus, and then Blink is down here too. So I wanted to try and experiment a little bit with this. I might do some more of that. We'll see, but at least for the time being, I might. I'm not going to guarantee that this is going to complete the pinnacle content. I do want to go do pinnacle content. So like that's kind of the goal here. I haven't fought Arbiter yet. I want to complete, I want to fight more of the other bosses. And if I manage to make this character a little bit stronger in the process and I complete pinnacle content on this character, then I will certainly let you guys know and talk about that. But for now, let's going to wrap this up. Like I said, holy crap, that's a long ass video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching and listening to me ramble on about this character and about this awesome game. I really, really enjoy this character, if it's not clear. And I want to do more. I think Chronomancer has a lot of potential. I'd like to see more going on. I love this ability. This ability is just so cool. Boom. It's just so cool. I love it so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a Chronomancer lover, let me know in the comments because there needs to be more of us. I love this class so much. Can't wait to, I might experiment a little bit more with it. Who knows? Maybe I'll even, I know some people have messed around with some other abilities and gone into like the warrior side of the tree. So maybe that's also an option. But for now, this is my version, the monk. Stop time, freeze time, wail on them while they can't move. And it's awesome, epic, and amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. And I will see you guys in another video. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll even stream. We'll see if my computer can handle it and if I end up finding the time to do so. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.